Hi lovelies, my name is Jessica and welcome to Makeup Misfit and Happy New Year. I know we are almost a week in, but this is the first video that I am filming for 2026 and I'm really excited about it. I am coming back with Project Level Up and I am so looking forward to getting a lot more use and love on some more palettes in my collection. Now, if you watched my project last year, I had switched it up a bit from how I did it back in 2024. In 24, I had pre-selected palettes for this project, which is continuing on. That's not changing. But each level I had assigned palettes to, but there was like 4 or 5 for each level that I could randomize between, and whatever palette was selected is what I would be using for that level. So for level 1, I had like 4 different Natasha Denona palettes. I selected the Sunrise palette, so that was my level 1, moved on to level 2 and so forth. Last year, I switched it up by only pre-selecting 7 palettes in total, and that is what I wanted to work on for this project last year. But that meant that every palette was eligible for each and any level. Of course, once I rolled it, it was out of the project once I had completed the level, but it didn't matter which level the palettes were rolled into, they were eligible for every one of them. Now that is what I'm doing again this year. However, last year I managed to get up to level 6. I completed that by using the Gimme Glow Summer Vibes palette. I had hit 6 pans and used every shade in there 6 times, but that meant that I had 1 palette left over. And it was November and I figured I possibly could have done level 7, but I wanted to just kind of end the project a little bit early, take a break, work on a couple of other little things here and there, and then come back with the project this year. So I had mentioned in the finale for last year that my level 7, what could have been my level 7 palette, I was going to roll over into this project for level 1. So that is what I'm going to do. I will be working on that palette, and I have brought in 5 additional palettes to equal out 6 palettes for the year and hopefully get through to level 6 again. Now, I have them written down in a specific order, I just have them numbered 1 through 6, and that's just for me to randomize so I know which palette I'm actually going to be working on for the levels. However, I have a pile of them here right now. I'm going to show them to you guys. We're on the pink end, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know these palettes a little bit better, show them a lot more love, figure out what I want to do with some of them in the end, and just see where my collection ends up. So we're just going to get into showing you guys what palettes I have actually selected to use for this year. So again, no particular order. These are just like in a pile from smallest to the largest on the bottom. And the very first one is my Violet Voss Care Bears palette. It has been such a long time since I have reached for this palette. I do believe I had it in a project at least 2, maybe 3 years ago now, or more than that, like 23, 22 maybe. Anyways, this palette is just a small little 6 pan, but it is so adorable, and I just really remember loving the colors, loving the looks that came out of this. There's a nice dip going on in this gold shade here called Champ Bear, and I just wanted to show this a lot more love. It matches my nails. So unfortunately, this is not going to be my level 1 palette, but I am really excited to eventually show this one some love at some point this year. Who knows when that's going to be, but I'm really, really looking forward to it. Next is a palette that I have loved and adored for a while. You guys have seen this not time and time again, but you guys have seen this a few times. You guys know the love that I have on this palette, and that is the What's Up Beauty Geodes palette. There are so many pans in this palette. One shade is almost completely finished off, and I have 6 shades left that need pan. This shade right here, the one that's almost finished, is what I was using my brows at the time, so that is more than likely how I will finish this. Whenever this gets rolled in, that is what I will be doing with that shadow. And I'm just really looking forward to getting back into this palette, combining these shades together. I really remember loving pairing these 2 shimmers, the green and the yellow. The green has a pan, but the yellow does not, so that is definitely going to be happening again. This one has a nice pan in it, but of course, I'll be using every shade in here, however many times I need to. So I will be showing this palette a lot more love, and I am so excited for this one as well. Now, the next palette I've had for quite a while. It's actually the very first palette that I have purchased from this brand, and I still don't think I have ever used it. Now, I feel like I remember talking about it a little bit, but whether I have actually used it or not, I don't think so. Like maybe once, if that. And I'm talking about the pastels palette from Beauty Bay. Sorry, my hair is driving me absolutely insane right now. So this palette, I've been really iffy on. It's definitely something that I have not been gravitating towards whatsoever. I've not been wanting to pull it into projects, but I still have this, not even an attachment. I don't want to let it go just yet. Like I'm not ready for that. Like I want to. There's a very small part of me that wants to use this palette and see if I enjoy it, see if I really like it, see what I can do with it. But for some reason, it's just not something that it's been like grabbing me. So I figured if I was ever going to get some use on this palette, if I was ever going to show it some love, this is the project to do that with. So we have no idea when this is going to show up sometime this year, but I'm going to, show it the love that it deserves and see how much I like it. Decide at the end of the year what I may or may not want to do with this. Right now, decluttering it is just not on the table. But again, I want to see how I feel about it first, and then you never know what might end up happening later on in the year. The next palette, it's newer to my collection. I did get it, I believe, in 24. And I used it no pan left behind style in a project. I believe I definitely had used a few of these shades more than once, and I really did enjoy this palette. So I figured that this would be a really good project to bring this into as well. Show it a lot more love. And I'm talking about the Glaminatrix Rich Romantics palette. Now, I don't have any pans in here yet, but I feel like this is very close. And I'm really excited to, dip into this. Yes, there's 15 shades in here. So I feel like it may take a little bit of time, but at the same time, this is probably going to be the palette that I focus on whenever it does happen to be rolled in. So this is kind of usually my main eyeshadow project. So I feel like it's not going to be too difficult for me to be able to get this out. Last year, I noticed it took about, give or take, 2 months for me to roll out each palette. It would take me about a month or so to make sure I reached my usage goal, and then about another month or so to be able to hit as many pans as I needed to, especially once the levels started getting a little bit higher. So even if this does take me 2 months, I'm totally cool with that. I really enjoy this. I know I'm going to love using it. And I think that, again, this is just a great project to be able to show a lot of your palettes the love that you want to show them or that they deserve. And then the last palette that is new, that has not been rolled over from last year, I will get into that one next. But first, we are going to chat about a palette that is newer to my collection as well. I have used it in a project. I did hit pan in one of the shades, and it's my Gloss Gods Vintage Glam Palette. I wasn't sure if I was going to pull this one in or not. I was actually debating another palette as well. But I'm going to kind of explain a couple of things before I actually move on with the project or with the video. But I decided ultimately this was going to be a palette that I wanted to work on. I really did like it when I used it no pan left behind. There was a couple of shades that I wasn't too sure about, so I can just very lightly tap them sorry, in the outer corner. I can't quite remember if this one was too dark or if I thought it was manageable and it was okay for me. But I know that I'll be able to make it work. Obviously, we have the pan right here. I think, not that it's going to be difficult, but this is more of the lid setting shade. And I have one of those that I started to use again because I actually have been going quite a while without setting my lids. So I have started getting back into that, and I would like to finish that off. However, when this is in the project, unless it's too dark to actually use as a lid setting shade, which I don't really think it's going to be, I will use it as a transition, but we will come to it when the time arrives, and figure out what I'm going to do. But I am looking forward to this. Like, I'm just staring at these 3 shades right here, and I think that would be a really pretty look. I do enjoy the Gloss Gods formula. This is the only palette that I have from them. There is a couple others that I would like to purchase at some point, but whether or not I'm actually going to, I don't know. But the new neutrals is definitely one of them. I missed out on the new nudes, and I'm okay with it, but I would just really like to, you know, show this one a little bit more love and hopefully let that ultimately decide whether or not I want to purchase from them again in the future. And honestly, most of it is just like shipping costs that I don't want to spend the money on, but it is what it is. So, I'm going to show you the palette that is being rolled over that I am using as my level 1 palette. And if you watched me last year, this is the Give Me Glow Coral Nightlife palette. Now mine's a little bit different. It was different when I got it. I just had a few shades switched out. So this is what it is looking like. There are definitely shades in here. Looking at these 3 right now that are definitely a little too bright for me at the moment. But, you know, again, we match my nails. But I'm really looking forward to trying to use this palette, see what I can come up with, especially because it's not the original color story to I switched a couple of things out in here. These 2 I had switched out before they shipped it to me, and then I had just kind of switched out a couple of other shades. I think it was this one and this one on my own. So I'm really curious to see how this is gonna go. I only have to use every shade in here once and hit 1 pan. Now I am more than likely going to focus on a shimmer for the 1 pan, but you never know. I might really enjoy this one and want to use that, or I might be in a real good pink mood and want to use this one. We're gonna have to see. I'm not sure what I want to reach for, but I am really excited about using this regardless, because this set of shadows, this palette has not had any use on it whatsoever, except, that's the word I'm looking for, except the shade here, which I believe is called Halo. This is a single in my collection, so this one I have a dip on, you can see, and that's why I think that one's probably going to be the one that has pan. But again, you never know. Never know where things are going to go. So I did want to kind of just say I was going to bring in a 7th palette like I did last year. However, these 2 palettes only have 6 pans, and I didn't want to start hand selecting palettes for certain levels when we got to a certain point, because I can't use these past level 6. I did have a palette that I wanted to use in here, but even though it's another 6 pan, there's 1 shade in there that I'm not going to use because it's a black, so I would have to use that for no more than level 5, and I figured it was just going to get too complicated trying to figure out when I had to pre-select a palette for a certain level or when I could randomize a palette for a level. So right now I'm only sitting at the 6 palettes. If, you know, depending on the time of year, depending on how I'm feeling, depending on how this project is going, if I feel like there's enough time and I have, you know, the motivation and all of that to do a 7th palette, I do have a couple off to the side. I'm not going to show you them now because I'm iffy about them and I don't know what I'm going to do with them. Maybe I'll pull them into projects throughout the year, but I may at some point pull a 7th palette in if I feel like I can do it, or like I really want to do it, or we have enough time left in the year, and then just kind of take it as it is. But with that, because this was the 7th palette that was not used last year, this is going to be my level 1 palette for this year. However, I do want to randomize and pull in my level 2 palette because I do think that that's not going to take me too long. I can probably knock that out. Surprisingly, level 6, like I said, was the Gimme Glow Summer Vibes palette, and I chose that one over this just because of the color story. But I do think that I'll be able to hit 1 pan and use every shade in here at least the 1 time before the next update, before the very first update. And if I don't, then that's okay. I have my level 2 palette for whenever that does end up happening. However, I want to randomize my level 2 palette with you guys right now and see what happens. So I do have them written out here in a list. So this is what I'm going to be going off of, not necessarily, actually, it's exactly how I showed you. Gimme Glow, Violet Voss, What's a Beauty, Beauty Bay, Glaminatrix, and Vintage Glam here from Gloss Gods. Okay, I didn't realize I did that, but all right. So we are going to roll in 1 through 5 and see what our level 2 palette is going to be. I'm kind of excited. No. All right. Nope. 1 through 5. 1 through 6. We're just gonna go 1 through 6, even though number 1 is the Coral Nightlife palette. So if we get that, we will reroll. All right, and our level 2 palette is going to be not number 1, not number 1, number 4, which is the pastel palette. Okay, I'm kind of happy that this is, I'm gonna show you guys number 4 Beauty Bay Pastels. I am happy that this is my level 2 because even though, you know, Glaminatrix and Gloss Gods, those are more pans, this I think is a perfect starting point for this palette. I only have to use every shade in here only twice, and there's 2 pans that I have to hit. And yes, they are all mattes, but I think that if this was any further, like level 4 or 5 or 6, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much. Level 3 I think would have been okay, but maybe trying to hit 3 pans would have been hard. But I think level 2 is probably the perfect spot for it. I honestly probably would have preferred either level 1 or 2, but because of how I'm doing this project this year and rolling in the palette from last year, I'm totally fine with this being a level 2 palette. So I'm going to, you know, use this as much as I can, get that knocked out, and I am hoping that I can start this before the first update, and then next month come back to you guys and talk to you about what my thoughts are on the palette so far. I do think that using every shade in here twice is probably not going to be a problem. I see myself using a lot of these as an inner corner, to be completely honest, and maybe even on the lower lash line. I know that's what I did with a lot of the Natasha Denona pastel palette that I had as my pan that palette in order for 25. So I may be doing something similar, but honestly, just to like use the shade every twice each. But I don't know. I'm really curious about it. I'm like kind of really looking at this shade, the pink shade in the camera, but like when I'm staring at it in person, I'm just looking at this lavender shade. And I don't even know what the names are on here because some of them are hard to read. Daydream, I think. So this is level 2, and I'm really actually looking forward to getting some use on this right away. But also, you know, not having that heavy, I have to use this 6 times. I have to hit 6 pounds type of deal. It's only 2. It's good. We are off to a good start. So I am really looking forward to this project this year, and I hope that you guys are as well. Again, as I said, I, you know, kind of set it up this way for reasons. So depending on where we are later on in the year, how much progress I have made in all of my palettes, I may pull in a 7th. But if not, then we will just start all over again next year and actually randomize a level 1 palette. So I think that's it. I think that's all that I wanted to kind of mention with you guys today. So I really do hope that you guys tag along for this journey this year. I am looking forward to it. I hope you guys are as well. And that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoy, and I will see you guys later. Bye.